Welcome into the SharpSports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. Going to try a little live stream Friday for the first time, so bear with me if things seem a little off, but I am ready to go. Denver Broncos headed to Philadelphia this weekend to take on the defending NFL champions in really a test of where the Broncos are at right now, which is, I think, a good thing for a young team early in the season. It's an out-of-conference game. It won't affect the Broncos all that much in terms of final AFC standing, but it's a good chance for the Broncos to see where they rank, see how they hold up, see what they're really good at, see what they're not so good at. The Eagles have not even played that well this year, however. They are 4-0, which is more testament to them being a veteran squad, a team that has won a lot of games. They have won basically 20-1 in their last 21 NFL games, which is absolutely bonkers when you think about it. And looking through some of the numbers, it's funny, Jalen Hurts, he's one of those guys where you just don't, he kind of does his thing. He's not spectacular, but other times he is spectacular. When you look up, all of a sudden he has really good numbers. I mean, this year, 4 games played, obviously, 4-0 for them, 70 of 101 for a 69% completion percentage, almost 70%, 609 yards, 6 average yards per catch, and of course does it with his legs too. Taking a few sacks, but has 5 touchdowns, no interceptions this season. So Saquon, Jalen Hurts is, I almost said Saquon. Jalen Hurts is one of those guys where he just, and his leadership obviously is out of this world. Always says the right thing, always does the right thing. But really, the other part of this game that's really going to come down to is the Denver Broncos defense being able to at least control and contain Saquon Barkley, who's had kind of a season thus far, but I'm sure that he is, excuse me, biting, just chomping at the bit to have a big game. And so the Broncos, better bring their chin straps to buckle up to play this Philadelphia aggressive run game. And I think that they will, but I'm a little nervous about some of the Broncos' run defense. It's been a little bit suspect throughout this entire couple years. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's very poor. I would love if the Broncos had Dre Greenlaw to play in this game specifically because of his ability at middle linebacker to stop the run instead of Alex Singleton. But this is who they have. This is who the Broncos have. So Alex Singleton better step up. He needs to have an outstanding game for the Broncos to stop Saquon Barkley and, of course, the other Eagle weapons. I'm not worried as much about A.J. Brown, given that Pat Surtain should be able to cover him pretty well. But some of the other Eagle receivers are certainly still capable with Devontae Smith and, of course, Dallas Goedert, who was a little bit banged up, a little bit hurt, but it looks like he's going to go for the Eagles at tight end. And we all know about the Broncos' history of inability of being able to cover an elite tight end in the last 8 or 9 years. For the Broncos on trying to do what they do from the last game, which was run J.K. Dobbins. Still a big fan of J.K. Dobbins, having a great year. Finally really got the majority of the carries against the Bengals on Monday Night Football. But yeah, definitely need to have some balance from J.K. Dobbins, whether that's catching balls out of the backfield, but primarily taking handoffs from Mr. Bo Nix and being able to run the ball effectively. It certainly is going to take a bit of the pressure off of Bo Nix if they can run the ball. They, being the Broncos, can run the ball versus the Eagles. However, that is easier said than done, given the fact that Philly has just an insane defense. They have so many defensive guys that they rotate. Jordan Davis, Andrew Makumba, who's the safety, who comes up and helps a lot. But the big guy that I'm still afraid of is the defensive tackle in the middle, Jalen Carter, who did manage to get himself in some hot water in the opening game of the season. versus the Cowboys. But don't be mistaken, Jalen Carter, I promise you, is well on the Broncos' offensive line radar, and they need to step up and try to block this guy who is an absolute beast in the middle. He's probably one of the top two or three defensive tackles. Honestly, I don't even know if the Broncos, without going through every game of every matchup, he will. Jalen Carter's hands down probably the best, if not a top two defensive tackle in the league. And just pressure up the middle, whether that's in the run game or the pass game, he's unbelievable. And so the Broncos, given the fact that we had a center last week and Luke Wattenberger had a bit of a rough game with some false starts and some holding calls and all that, I'm a little bit nervous about what this Bronco offensive line will look against a truly elite player in Jalen Carter, amongst the other multitude of Philadelphia defensive players. I mean, they have so many guys. It's just gross. I mean, they've really drafted super well. Probably have the Eagles, that is, probably have the best general manager in the entire NFL, because their roster, they just find guys later on in the draft. They also usually draft from a position of strength in terms of not needing any one position. They just take the best guy. They just take some defensive monster at Georgia or Alabama or LSU or somewhere like that down south and basically plug them into their defense, which harkens back to former Denver Bronco head coach Vic Fangio, who, I mean, it's been long enough. There's enough NFL roster turnover for the most part that a lot of the players here in Denver now were not here for the Vic Fangio era, which lasted a paltry 2 seasons in Denver. He was okay, but he literally had almost zero understanding of what was going on the offensive side of the ball, and it was painful to watch his press conferences because they would ask him a question about offense, and he would mostly spend the entire time talking about the defense, which for the Broncos at the time was very good, but the Broncos' offense was so poor that the Broncos could not win games with Vic Fangio because the offense would score 17 and the defense would allow 20, and they would lose by 3, they being the Broncos. So, but Vic Fangio versus Sean Payton, certainly an interesting matchup. I hope that Sean Payton doesn't get too cute, doesn't get self-righteous, doesn't think that basically his team is better than they are, which he tends to do, certainly discussing in the media. Stick to what you're good at. Stick to what you're good at. Stick to what worked against. I obviously stand that the Eagles versus the Bengals might be the team that finished first last year in the Eagles, and a team that's barreling towards a top 5 pick in the Bengals, who are an absolute disaster. I understand the contrast of Eagles versus Bengals is not the same game whatsoever. However, that being said, you being the Broncos, found some success with some balance, decided to pick a back in J.K. Dobbins, who appears to be healthy and productive. And so the Broncos, quite honestly, I think just about every prognosticator has them losing this game this weekend, as do I. If they win, excellent. But really, it's about there are not a whole lot of games in the NFL. Obviously, you want to win every game you play, but this game is more about a test to see exactly where you're at versus an Eagles team that obviously has had a few struggles and a few things they've had to kind of overcome to win some games this year in the NFL. But really, that's more, in my mind, it's an extension of the preseason because no one plays in the preseason anymore. So the Eagles kind of, coasted around and kind of messed around in the first 4 games, treated it as a preseason, and still managed to come out undefeated. So Broncos need to step up defensively because this will be a true test, I believe, of the Eagles' physicality on both sides of the ball, both sides line of scrimmage, and it'll be interesting. So I think the Broncos, unfortunately, lose this game, I'll say 24-17, which has kind of been the median score I've picked a lot of Bronco games for, but that's because most games in the NFL certainly in the early season, yes, there are occasional blowouts like the Broncos had on Monday night, but most of your games are touchdown or less. Actually, you know what? I'll revise my pick. I'll say Eagles 24, Broncos 20. So 24-20 Eagles. Uh, Certainly hope that the Broncos win. It would be amazing if they won. It would be a huge road win. Would put them over 500 for the season. But I am not going to project the Broncos winning this game in Philadelphia. Anyway, once again, my name is Andrew Sharp, SharpSports 82 YouTube podcast, going live on YouTube for the first time. Kind of fun and exciting, and hoping that everyone has a happy Friday. And I will be back, Monday to discuss Eagles and Broncos. Go Broncos! Hope they do well, and I'll see you on Monday. Thanks a lot.